May the words of my heart and the meditations of all our lives give grace to you, O God, and help us trust your merciful love. Amen. I'm going to put this on gallery view, and I can see people. So, I've been playing with this lesson, and a lot of what I'm saying comes from a Bible study I did earlier in the week, and so Kappa may recognize it. But here's what I'm thinking. What kind of party would you not want to come to? And on a simple level, I don't like parties with clowns. I don't like parties in those big party, Chuck E. Cheese or whatever. There's lots of parties that I'd rather skip, but I would go there because my child was invited. But this wasn't just, oh, I don't feel like it or I don't want to. The violence in this parable is stunning. There's a banquet, and a king sends out slaves, and nobody comes. And a king sends out more slaves, and this time, not only do people say no thank you, I've made light of the party, or I'm off at my business, or I'm off at my farm, but the slaves were mistreated, killed, ignored. And then the king, in a rage, goes into the city, burns the city, kills everybody, and makes it a heap of ruins. Now, I often automatically, when Jesus starts out a parable that says the kingdom of heaven is like a king, I assume that the king is God. I think we have to be really careful here, because the Gospel of Matthew was written in about 80 to 90 years after Jesus. And in 70, Titus came into Jerusalem, put it under siege for 3 or 4 years, slaughtered and then lifted the siege, slaughtered all the people, and burned the city. Anybody hearing the Gospel of Matthew would connect the king with evil Rome. And the people of the Gospel of Matthew, Christians, all the Christians and Jews had to flee. Jews weren't allowed back into Jerusalem except for a brief period, ever. So the king, I'm thinking, is either the state aligned with the church or it's violence. So now, think about what kind of party requires violence to be resisted? What kind of party are you going to kill the messengers no matter what? I have 2 candidates. One, the kind of party where everyone is welcome, and not only welcome, but absolutely equal. The kind of party where black folks, white folks, Latinx folks, Asian folks, rich folks, poor folks, straight folks, gay folks, everyone's there and no one is better than anyone else. You don't earn morality so you're better. Everyone is equal. And everyone is sharing, and resources are used by everyone, and everyone's welcome at the table. Well, if you think about that, and I'm learning more and more about history all the time, people in power, kings, empires, dominions, and those of us who, even democracies at times, enforce inequality with violence. We don't like everyone, some people have to have some things and we have to keep them away from other people. Back in 1450, there was a papal decree that granted to Portugal the right to enslave anyone they found on the continent of Africa. So the church allies with the king and allows the enslavement. People can go to, white folks now can go to Africa, exploit all the resources, enslave all the people, and God thinks that's okay, says the Pope. It was in 1493, Pope Alexander wrote this thing called the Doctrine of Discovery. The papal bull has another Latin name, I don't remember. It gave to Spain the right to treat anything and anyone it found on the continent of South America, the right to be exploited or imprisoned or killed. And when the English folks came to the Americas in the 1600s, we did the same thing. We treated the African slaves as people to be enslaved and indigenous peoples to be killed. And when anyone came to say, watch out, this is wrong, they were imprisoned, they were killed, they were resisted. The abolitionists, the blacks, the slaves who tried to rebel, the folks who were working, were all resisted mightily, because the power of the king was aligned with the power of violence, and we needed to enforce a hierarchy. Here's another candidate for the party. I've been hiking a lot. The planet. God created this planet with resources, abundant resources, enough to feed everyone, house everyone, clothe everyone, heal everyone. There are amazing resources in this planet. And we humans have decided that we need to exploit the resources, that we're not looking at interdependence. We're not looking at how we only need we can only take what we need. We're looking at what we can sell and destroy in the name of profit. That's if there's a party where God says share, then we kill the prophets, like Chief Seattle, who said watch what happens to the land, or like Rachel Carson, who said let's watch what happens to Silent Spring, or the other Greta Thunberg. She hasn't been killed yet, but she's certainly been resisted. There is human nature, this desire for domination and to benefit from societies. I mean, I don't know a society on the planet that doesn't have domination and equality and exploitation. But we could play with that. But part of what it is to be human is to align ourselves with the king. And if you notice in the parable, Jesus is nowhere. Or the son is nowhere. You know, this is a wedding banquet for the son, but the son doesn't make an appearance. And here's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if the son is over with the people who do understand interdependence and do understand equality and radical sharing. I'm wondering if the son is inviting all the people from the highways and byways, and historically, it was the people who didn't have any stake in the system, the poor, the marginalized, the widows, the outcasts, the broken, the lepers, who came to Jesus. They didn't care if the system came or left. They found that Jesus saw them as whole human beings. And then, here's this weird thing with the wedding garment. Because I think if we think of the king not as God, but as the human temptation to dominate and exploit, and that's in all of us, then there are times when we desperately want to be at the party, and we want everyone to be equal, and we want everyone to have everything they need, and we want to rejoice and protect and nurture creation. And there are times when we don't, when it's not convenient, when I want to impose my will, when I'm not quite ready to give up my car yet, or to drive it less, or to recycle, or to take measures, when I'm not quite ready to jump off the exploitation, domination system. And that's when we get cast into outer darkness, because we decide to align ourselves with domination. There's no room in the party for domination. But Jesus the Son is always out saying, come on folks, change your minds. You're always welcome back in. It's just that violence doesn't work here. Your own control over your own life doesn't work here. I'm in charge of the banquet. And my in-chargeness is about love and about respect. And when you play by my rules, you will know joy. And when you move back into the systems that are aligned with the king, you no longer participate. And you'll see that eventually that domination system is outer darkness. And then I'll be around to invite you back in. So this says we all have personal transformation to do, and we all have some social transformation, and that Jesus is about both of those things. And that we want to be invited into this banquet. And we want to find resources to keep being the emissaries of Jesus, of the prophets, who are saying, stop this system, and who are inviting us to another way. Let's have grace to find that other way and to be drawn by Jesus' love into more respect, more justice, more healing, more hope. Amen.